I'm going to be replacing some bearings on these run flat tires on my mower. Last year I noticed the bearings were all shot, and I just put some grease on there and pinched them together and went and ordered parts. I dragged it around the yard like that all season long, but now before springtime comes I'm going to get these wheels fixed. One of the first things I did when I got this machine was to go and print out the owner's manual and the parts manual, so I can have that for reference. At some point I had looked up and ordered the bearings for these wheels. You can buy whole new wheels, but I wanted to just do the bearings that I needed to do. And I can't remember where the part numbers are or anything like that now, so I'll have to figure that out. Which usually isn't too much trouble because I always mark in my book the things I had worked on, the part numbers I had looked up, and if I can, I keep receipts and give me information about how much I paid and when I bought them and where I got them from. And for this bearing job, I found these complete seal kits with bearings for $32.95. And if I take a look in the operator's manual, there appears to be two different kinds of wheels. One has a no seal guard and a round spacer, and this has a seal guard and spacer nut with wrench flats. I believe I have the no seal guard and a round spacer like this. So first thing I look at is this spacer, and if I take a look at the old one, I can see it's worn down about 1/16 of an inch. It's got a big lip on it there, and it's all gouged up. That's from flopping around in there. And if I dig out some of this gunk right here so I can look at that seal a little better, I can see how that seal is installed. And there's the new one. It's going to go in like that. But if I flip it over and look at this side, I can see this one's installed the opposite way around. No? Or it's just completely different. Different seal. And I just want to have something to punch this out of there. Come on. Clean out a little of this grease so I can take a look in there. Still have a race left in there. Now I'll bang the other side out the same way. Alright, I just want to take a look and see if we can figure out why this thing failed and how do we keep it in optimum condition. So first we know this race is going to go in there first and bump up against those tabs inside the hub, and then we're going to put on this bearing, and then after that bearing goes this spacer, and this seal rides on that spacer, and that's how that assembly is in the end of the unit there. Now this is the tube that goes over the bolt between the two bearings inside the center of the hub. Just going to slide that on there to hold this together. All right, there's our assembly. So the question is then, how do we set the right torque on this bearing so it's not loose and wobbling around in there? And how we do that is that space will be sticking out a little bit. The fork will be right here. Then this is the bolt that goes between the forks, and you tighten that bolt down until you have the right amount of play in your bearing. There should be no play and a nice rolling resistance, probably 10 inch-pounds or something. But that's how that's set. So if this is left to be loose, it'll wobble all around over there, or if someone just cranks down on it real tight with an air tool or something, it'll bind those bearings up and burn them out. So with this set at the proper rolling resistance, this should go like 10,000 miles. Alright, so I cleaned up this opening with a little bit of emery, and now I'm just going to drive this bearing race down there. I'm going to use a socket to do that. It's very important when you pick something to drive your bearing in that you don't pick something that's going to stick inside of the axle that you're pressing something into. You'd be very sad. So I'm going to use that. And just tap that down squarely. Drive it home down to those tabs inside there. I'm going to pack this bearing with grease and drop that in there. I know this is your favorite part. I have a press. I could use a press, but it's a manual press. It takes a long time to do lots of pumping. This is just quicker, and this will do the job. Pack this bearing. When I bought this thing, I got a really great deal and it was on eBay, and I was bidding on it. No one else bid on it, and I think it's because it looks so bad in the pictures. And that's because someone had taken black paint and sprayed it all over the wheels and made the whole thing look like a junk. But it was really an excellent mower in great condition with the brand new motor and a bagger attachment and everything. I got it for like half price. And I think the main thing was it looked bad in the pictures because it was black paint. I have it apart, so I'm going to just grind this up a little bit, sand a little bit, and put a coat of paint on there. These wheels I blasted and painted when I first got the machine. Well, it's not a sports car or nothing, but a quick second coat I think will keep them from rusting and make them look good probably the rest of my life. While I have this wheel off here, these front forks, there's a set of bearings in here too. This is like a cap, like might be on the wheel of a car. And there's a stud in here where a grease zerk would go. The grease fitting is left off because it's something that might get busted off while you're out cutting in the branches or something, hit that and break that off, and then you'd have a broken zerk fitting. But this is supposed to be removed and then zerk fitting put in there and the thing greased. But I see there's a little bit of play in this one. Not much, just a few thousandths play, and this other side is tight. So I'm just going to pop this cap off of here and inspect that and grease that up. It's full of grass. I'd say they're definitely out of grease. Probably get into that just in time. Alright, so now I can work on putting this wheel back on here. Clean up some of this surface right here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put a little grease on these spacers. Work them into that seal. We'll put some lube on the tube. Got that about evenly spaced in there. I'm also going to put some grease on this bolt. And it's all ready to go in. Get our lock nut on there. I'm going to get a couple wrenches. I'm going to hold that and tighten it a little at a time so I feel like it's exactly the right space in there for a smooth running bearing without being bound up and without being sloppy. I'm going to pump it up with grease and then try it again. Alright, I can see grease coming out of both seals. That'll be it. You know, we have like 2 acres to cut, and I was doing it with the type of old garden tractor that somebody gave to me for free. and it would take about 4 hours every Saturday to cut the grass. And if ever the grass wouldn't dry out because it just rained every couple of days or something, I mean, there's parts of the lawn I just wouldn't even chug through because the grass was 6 inches long and wet. When it was time for a new machine, I started looking around at the prices of machines at like the local China Mart or the Home Center or some, you know, nice piece of equipment. And then compared what, you know, I might spend on a used piece of commercial equipment. These zero-turn mowers have been around for quite a while now, and there's some used gear out there available for sale. And you know, I got this for less than the price of a fancy riding tractor down at the Home Center. I'm really happy with it. I can go out and do the weed eating and the cutting of the grass and the mowing of the whole place in less than an hour now. And this heavy-duty piece of gear is going to last the rest of my life. You know, just a thought. I have a few more chores to take care of on this machine before I'm ready to cut grass for the summer, but that's enough for today.